What's going on, guys? Today we are taking a look at one of my favorite figures, and that is Black Convoy from the Transformers Car Robot series. If you ever watched the show, you will know that this was a one-time Autobot protoform that was turned evil. And how can you tell he's evil? He's in all black. Because, you know, black equals evil and such. In his truck-slash-tanker mode, he is a formidable rival to Optimus Prime. And the reason you can tell that this is the non-US version is the chrome here on the tanker section. If I remember correctly, the original American figure didn't have this level of chromage going on. Honestly, he could be trucking really evil milk for all I know. In this mode, he only has one real attack gimmick, and that's this unit up here that shoots giant manhole-sized Decepticon symbol discs out. And we'll be showing that function in a little bit when we actually get into the base's command mode. So we'll talk about that later. The trailer just unhitches from the back, and you have this really nice, evil-looking truck. I love this truck. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And as a Decepticon truck goes, it's probably one of the best. So we'll put this off to the side to show you the tanker section. Now, this is where things get a little weird. Now, I had to switch over to my wide-angle lens to show you this, because quite simply, the base goes from a nice compact tanker to a very large-ish base unit. To start off with, come to the front of the tanker and unpeg this section, and then reach underneath, and there's a button under here that you can push to automatically flip out the section of the tanker weapon base and spill things everywhere. So here we have the base, and it's actually not supposed to face this way. You're supposed to turn it around so that the rear of the tanker is supposed to be facing the enemies. So on the one side, we will rotate the disc launcher up, and then we'll reload the discs here in a second. And on the other side, you're supposed to unpeg the missile launcher from the underside, and then peg it in on this ball joint here. And if I can do it correctly, there we go. We've got missiles. Now, the last thing is this pump-action missile launcher that folds in from the side, or from the top here, and you can have the gun embankment up top pointing straight up, or you can turn it so that it's pointing forward. I actually have it attached wrong, I believe. I'm supposed to be having it like that. Now this thing can pop off and be wielded by Black Convoy. Now you saw that blue thing? Well, that is the air-powered missile launcher that, if I'm honest, doesn't really work, but I'll show you it anyway here in a minute. Now, the figure does come with two of these very soft rubber-tipped missiles, and if these missiles look, well, familiar, that's because these are the same exact missiles that were in the RID Bludgeon and RID Black Convoy figures that were repaints of the G2 Megatron and G2 Prime figures. And sorry, I smacked the camera there. And that just goes over the missile launcher here. Unfortunately, you don't want to push it all the way down, otherwise you won't be able to launch the missile. So we'll try and get the missile to launch here. Try to get the missile to launch here. Why you no work? So yeah, the missile launcher does not work. It has never worked. It just has never worked for my figure. And I think that's because when I got the figure, the hose was already really badly crimped. So there's got to be a break in the hose somewhere that doesn't allow any air to come out. Because when I push this, the amount of air that comes out of the tip here on the missile launcher is really, really small. There's not a lot of pressure there. So let's go ahead and look at some of his other weaponry. First off is this missile launcher that is actually really nice. It holds 5 missiles, and they can all be activated at once via the buttons on the top. And don't let them fool you. They shoot a really good distance, at least a foot or two. There are also a ton of extra missiles in the back here underneath. So if you lose any, you have extra. Now, for his last set of weapons, and that is his disc launcher. The disc launcher comes with all the discs you see here, no extras. There are only 5. Oh, one other thing I forgot to show you is there is an extra missile inside the tractor trailer. The one I was using is actually the extra one. You're supposed to store the one in here and have this for extra. So the disc launcher, if you've ever used a disc launcher from another toy series like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or literally any other toy series from the late 80s, you know what to expect here. So we'll just load him up and you fire it via turning this dial. And they actually shoot a good distance. I measured it, and they shoot a good 3 feet at best, maybe even 4 if you get the angle well. But overall, as a base mode, it's not too shabby. Not perfect, but not too shabby. Now moving on to the Black Convoy figure himself. As I said, he is a fantastic looking evil truck. There is a little bit of wiggle here in the back part of the truck mode, but nothing crazy. He does store his saber underneath the truck mode, just like you think he should, and that just pops off very easily. Transformation is exactly as you remember it in the show. Extend the rear section of the truck to form the legs, and flip out the feet, and then stand the figure up. To continue with the transformation, fold out the gas tanks and split open the front of the vehicle mode. Open up this little chest area in the front, flip his head up and slide it into the body, and then turn it around. And here we have Black Convoy in robot mode. Black Convoy is one of those robots in Transformers that you don't really have to do anything to in order to make him look awesome. His paint scheme and just the general mold already do that for him. He is a fantastic looking figure. Now my figure has a little bit of loose problems thanks to his age. I originally got this back in the late 90s when the show originally aired. So even though I've kept him in box over all these years, there is a little bit of wiggleness to some of his joints, especially the ratchet joints. That's just the rigors of time. The only problem I have with this figure is that the Japanese designers removed the original light piping gimmicks that made the original Laser Optimus Prime from Gen 2 really cool. This spot back here on his back used to be a button that you would push and then the weapons in his hands would glow. That doesn't happen with this figure, and that's a shame because the red, eerie glow that could come from these weapons is really, really cool, and I'm sure I could take him apart and add some LEDs in there, but I just don't want to do that. Another thing that makes this figure really awesome is his posability. Yes, he's got a G1 aesthetic to him, but the figure is actually quite posable. His head is on a swivel moving side to side. Shoulders are on a swivel themselves, but they have some in and out movement, along with his arms, which have in and out movement, a swivel right above the elbow, and a 90-degree bend at the elbow. He has torso articulation via a very loud ratchet joints in the legs, and ratcheting knees. So you can get some very interesting poses out of this guy, though stability is a little bit of an issue now that he is later in years, or the figure is later in years, but you can still pull off some really cool kickin' poses if you can get him to stand and stabilize well. So you can and will end up with an awesome figure if you get this guy. Black Convoy is one of my favorite figures simply because he oozes bad attitude and I am going to kick your buttness. It's just a fantastic figure that has held up relatively well over the years and just puts a smile on my face every time I get a chance to play with him. So guys, I hope you enjoy this video review of D102 Car Robots Black Convoy. I'm Baltmatrix, and I'll catch you next time.